No, I don't want to rotate myself. Okay.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Cisco. I'm here with Vicki, and the wonderful folks at Chester Senior Center are allowing us to use their kitchen. And today we're going to demonstrate some ways to use up holiday leftovers. Take your holiday leftovers and change them into something else so that you get to enjoy them for a second time. Everything we have here today is authentic. They're all from my kitchen. They're all leftovers for the most part. And we're going to get right to it. We're going to try and do 4 recipes in the next 45 minutes. You should be able to see everything from start to finish. First item we're going to do is we're going to take this lovely piece of ham I had left over, which this was the main piece of our Christmas dinner. And I'm going to take some of that ham and I'm going to turn it into a ham and cheese quiche for us. So the first thing we want to do is take our ham, and I'm going to try and trim off about 8 ounces of ham from this. Just take it right down the side there. Now this was a spiral sliced ham that I got for free because I bought so many groceries. And the one thing I'm not doing today that everybody knows how to do with a ham, and that's why I decided not to do it, is the best thing is when you get all the meat off of this, you take this bone, you throw it in a pot with some beans and some water, and you make bean soup. And that is a wonderful way to use out your ham. This piece is mostly fat, so I'm going to give me a little bit more ham here. It was good. And we're going to dice that up. It'll be great. I almost said make this ham great again, but I stopped myself. Because that would have brought up all sorts of emotions. So you just take your ham, dice it up nice. We're actually going to put it onto a plate that Vicki has some cheese on. You got another plate? Good. And this ham is diced and ready and standing by for our quiche. Next thing I need to do is I am going to dice up a pepper, and Vicki is going to dice up an onion, and we're going to have that in our quiche. Oh yeah. Now the reason we're starting with the quiche is our goal is you're going to get to see everything done. You're not going to just get to see us cook it, you're going to get to see it all done. And we're not using any of that Hollywood magic where, you know, we put it in the oven and 2 seconds later we bring out one fully cooked. We're showing you authenticity. Everything you got here came from my kitchen. All these tools are from my home. And everything we're doing here, my hope is that you can do at home. Are you looking for a smaller knife? Okie dokie. Unfortunately, as you may have noticed, Vicki is actually 6'2", I'm 8'5", and I'm used to using bigger tools. She has to have smaller tools. So we're going to take your pepper and your onion, and we're going to dice them up. Just taking my pepper, pulling the seeds out, and let's see what I got. This recipe calls for 4 ounces of onion and 4 ounces of pepper. But as we were talking about earlier, the nice thing about cooking as opposed to baking, baking is a science. You do one thing wrong on baking, your entire cake will come out wrong. Cooking, you got a little flexibility. So when this calls for 4 ounces, we could do about 4 ounces. scaring me. Alrighty. Now I'm just going to reserve that aside once that's diced up. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to beat some eggs. That's 2 eggs, and this is for a normal pie shell, baking shell. And to those 2 eggs, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of sour cream. Now you don't have to write all this down because after we're done, we're going to post all these recipes up on the website so you'll be able to see the recipes for what we did. Well, 1 tablespoon of sour cream. And while I'm doing that, I am going to ask Vicki, we need the rest of that cheese shredded up if you could do that for us. She's going to finish up on that cheese. And I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of dill. That's a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of dill. Earlier today, my wife, she's home from work. I asked her if she was going to be watching, and she just said, yeah, sure, like I've never seen you cook before. So she's not home, so I can't, well, she's not watching. So I can say anything I want and she's not going to hear me. She's seen me cook many times. I've been married now for 30 years. I'm a very lucky man, actually. So we added our seasonings. And we're beating that good. Now with that cheese and that ham, I'm going to take some cheese. And I'm going to take some ham, and I'm going to take one of our smaller bowls. There we go. And I put the cheese in there, I put the ham in there, and we're going to take a 1/4 cup of flour. And we're going to put that in there. Those are fine. 1/4 cup of flour, and we're going to toss that around with the ham and the cheese. Can you hand me that spatula, please? Thank you. And we're just going to toss that around, toss the ham and cheese and the flour. There you go. Lovely ham and cheese in the flour shot there for you. All right. We got our ham and cheese. We've got our egg mixture. First, we take the ham and cheese, put it into our pie shell, and that almost fills up the whole pie shell. Nope. It's plenty of ham. And we take our egg mixture. Make sure to get that all over everything. Now this pie shell, you can make your own pie shell, or, I forgot the peppers. Take one from the store, but the one thing I recommend with the pie shell is that you pre-bake it. That way you don't end up with a big soggy bottom. All right, there it is. There's our quiche. This is going into a 375-degree oven for 40 minutes. I was going to put it right over there, and I was for sure I didn't verify that one. I verified that one. We've got an oven over here we're going to use. Sorry to step out of frame, folks. Oh, here we go. They're following me. And we're just going to pop that right into the oven. Okay. Let me set a timer. Set timer for 40 minutes. Set timer for 40 minutes. Alrighty. Now we're going to move on. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way, hopefully out of camera range. And we're going to move on to our next item. We're doing pretty good. We're right on schedule. Next, we're going to take some leftover beef. Let's say you had leftover roast beef, okay? Some of us had ham for Christmas, some of us had roast beef. And we're going to make beef stroganoff. So I've got a piece of beef here. Clear off my cutting board. And the first thing you do is you take whatever you have as a leftover piece of beef. Here I've got strip loin, and we're going to cut that up into strips. And while I'm working on that, I'm going to ask you, Vicki, to go ahead and cut up those mushrooms. You could just quarter them, that'll be fine. And then we've got a lot of other ingredients that we're going to assemble. So first, taking our steak, cutting it into strips. Now again, if I'm moving a little fast for y'all, we're going to have these recipes up on the website. But we're trying to give you a demonstration of the different techniques you can use. I would imagine that most of y'all are not going to be trying to cook 4 different entrees. You don't have to use all those holiday leftovers in one time. But these are good meal options. You could use them for leftovers. Now stroganoff, you could go out, buy yourself a piece of meat, use this same recipe to make yourself some stroganoff. One of the things I didn't mention about the quiche is one of the beauties of the quiche is quiche works for so many different things. It's all a matter of what you put in it. So say you don't eat ham. I had a friend made a lovely quiche with some leftover duck that he had. Say you don't have duck, any type of meat or no meat at all. You can just make a fine quiche with cheese and vegetables. So here we got some julienne ham or some julienne beef, and we got the mushrooms. All right. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 tablespoons of butter. Those mushrooms are looking just fine. Three tablespoons of butter. Gonna heat it up. See there? And then we're going to brown off our meat once that butter is all ready for me. And then once we've got that going, we're going to take our mushrooms. We need to crush a clove of garlic. And then we have some other ingredients we're going to add. Got some fresh garlic here. For the garlic, just cut off the top, cut off the bottom, crush it, and then you can take that peel right off. Peel comes right off. And then we're going to mince it on down. I can hear my butter sizzling. I'm just going to add this garlic and this beef right to the pan. Now we're using leftover beef there, so that came out of the fridge. Going to have to give it a little time to warm up. Pardon me. And I'm going to take my spatula and stir that around. I'm going to rinse my spatula off first. Be right back. Entertain the people, folks. Alrighty. Excuse me for turning my back to you. I've got my beef. We're going to add to that our mushrooms. That's what I need. I need 3 tablespoons of flour. 3. So we got our 3 tablespoons of flour. We're right on schedule. You want to stir that around, and that's going to mix with the butter to form a roux, which is going to help thicken up your stroganoff, because you don't want a thin, runny stroganoff. Next, we're going to add some seasoning. I need thyme, half a teaspoon of thyme. I'm just going to eyeball it. That's good. I need half a teaspoon of paprika. This one's new, I didn't unwrap it first. Half a teaspoon of paprika. We're going to do half a tablespoon of Dijon mustard and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. just for the argument of time, I'm eyeballing this. But if you're not comfortable with that, feel free to measure all the ingredients out exactly like I told you, and they're going to come out the way, they're going to have a delicious stroganoff when you're done. To all this, I'm adding about 12 ounces of beef broth. Thank you. Now, we're going to stir this a little, and we're going to let this simmer. Got a little more heat under there. Okay, and we'll stir it around. We're going to let that simmer for about 20 minutes. And then right before we're done at the end of our show today, we're going to incorporate the sour cream. The sour cream is really what people think about when they think about a stroganoff. And the key to the sour cream is you don't want to add it directly to your beef and your stock and all that, because then it'll break and it won't taste as good. You're going to want to temper it. We're going to show you how to do that right at the end. Sorry to jump around, but we've got our quiche cooking in the oven. We've got our stroganoff on the stove working, and we're going to move on to the next item, which is turkey teriyaki stir fry. And actually, it's going to be easier for me to move to it than to move all of it to me. So I'm coming down this way. John, if you want to move the camera a little bit. All right. Let me get my notes. We're learning as we go here, folks, because we haven't done this cooking demonstration over the internet before. I've done this quite a few times live in front of senior centers and senior homes. I've probably performed, well, I know I've done cooking demonstrations about 25 times at the senior centers, and I've done other performances about another 50 times. So I have done this a time or two. Just a little bit about my background. I have 40 years of experience as a chef, usually cooking for large groups, colleges, hospitals, nursing homes, large industrial organizations. I've cooked for celebrities, presidents. I taught at the Culinary Institute of Virginia, but now I call myself semi-retired. All right, so next we're working on the turkey teriyaki stir fry. Now the first thing for turkey teriyaki stir fry is going to be the stir fry sauce. So for the stir fry sauce, I need half a cup of water, which I'm just going to get right over here at the tap, half a cup. And to that half a cup of water, I'm going to do a quarter cup of soy sauce. Quarter cup. Actually, I'm using my little Pyrex measuring cup here. I wanted half a cup of water, so I'm going to pour off some of that. Alrighty, you've got half a cup of water, and then I can measure right in the cup. I can see I can go with a quarter cup of soy sauce. And to that, I need 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm going to visualize it again. There we go, 2 tablespoons of honey. A teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of ginger, and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Looking for my measuring spoons. Well, folks, can't find my measuring spoons in a second, so guess what? I'm going to eyeball this as well. Oh, I know where they are. They're in my chef gear. This here over here, you can't see me. This is a chef kit. Which is the type of bag a chef will carry all his tools in. No, I did take them out already. It's a little metal ring. That is looking delicious, the stroganoff, by the way. So, it's a little metal set of spoons.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to use this. So, I want 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of ginger, then we just mix that all up and set it aside. And then I'm going to need Vicky's help because we're going to be dicing and slicing and chopping. So here's your teriyaki sauce. The last thing I forgot to put in there, which would have not worked, I need to put the cornstarch in because once we put that teriyaki sauce in, we want it to thicken up. And I need 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, which is 1 ounce, which is 1/8 of a cup. So it's going to be half of this 1/4 cup here. There we go. And that way, when we add the teriyaki sauce to our stir fry, it's going to thicken up nicely. Just mix that all in. And that's going to be our teriyaki sauce. Remember to give it a good stir because that honey is going to settle to the bottom. And you want to make sure to incorporate that honey and get that honey in your sauce. Get that flavor. Now it's real simple. Yep, onion and pepper. And then we got zucchini and broccoli. Now again, stir fried like quiche. I was talking about how quiche is great. You can put all sorts of different things in it. Stir fry is the same way. We're doing a turkey teriyaki stir fry. I could have done a beef teriyaki stir fry. I just happen to like the way the turkey teriyaki sounds. I like that alliteration. Got to move those eggs out of the foreground. We did not get paid to advertise those eggs. You want those eggs up front, egg company? Pay us, donation. So, but you can put anything into a stir fry, and you can have a very delicious and a very easy meal. I'm going to wash my hands real quick while you watch Vicky chop a pepper.
So much skill.
Yeah, that's
Jake.
fun.
So much skill.
I'm gonna do it the way I do it at home. You want these dice real small?
No, large dice.
Oh, that's good. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm not talking about them. They're doing just fine.
No.
Those are beautiful peppers. Those are some of the nicest chopped peppers I've ever seen you cut. I've never seen her cut chopped peppers.
Like you the last time, huh?
There's my measuring spoons. They were in my flour. We're a work in progress, folks. It's the first time we've done this online. All right. I've got a zucchini. I'm going to cut that up. And again, this all goes as to what vegetables do you like? And sometimes there may be a vegetable that you don't like, but you'll find that you like it when it's in a stir fry. Now, I was telling the folks here earlier, none of this equipment, these tools, these pans, none of them are younger than 20 years old, because I've been cooking for a long time. The one thing I didn't bring in today is I have a stir-fry pan. Not a wok, although a wok would work perfectly fine, but it's a stir-fry pan. It's the shape of a wok, but it's got the one long handle, and it's a little heavier gauge. But to do this, what I wanted to do, I figured everybody at home doesn't have a stir-fry pan. So what I brought in is just a nice old, big old stock pot. And you can do a stir-fry in a stock pot just as easily as you can do it in a stir-fry pan. And I figure everybody has one of these at home. So we're going to put that on. A little heat under that, get it warmed up. Now I always like to warm up my pot before I put my oil in. Just pre-warm it a little bit. You don't want to get it too hot, but just a little bit. How you doing over there?
I'm good.
What?
I'm trying to hold back the tears.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I know. You've never done anything mean to those onions, but yet they're making you cry. That's just not fair.
No, it's not.
So,
Is that good?
that's wonderful. And we can put all the veg in a bowl together. And I'm going to cut up this broccoli real quick. You can put your peppers and onions in there. Whoop, whoop, lost some broccoli. See, I told you folks, this is authentic. You get to see me drop vegetables on the floor. And the most important thing is, you get to see that I didn't pick those vegetables back up again. You can use those onions. Well, never work in a professional kitchen. Because in a professional kitchen, sadly, you throw out a lot of food. All right. So we've got all our vegetables. Today we're doing onions, peppers, we're doing broccoli, and we're doing zucchini squash. And now we need to cut up some turkey. I want about 12 ounces of turkey. Y'all recognize this? Here's your leftover turkey. This is because my daughter does not eat ham. I don't know why. Just at some point she decided she's not eating ham anymore. We all have daughters. Well, not all of us, but we got children. So I'm sure some of you out there can feel for me that I make a beautiful ham. I love you, Mary, if you're watching. My daughter's great. Okay, put it on lower. That's fine. And take the skin off. But I'm very fortunate through this lockdown. I have both my adult children living with me. My son had lost 2 jobs right before Christmas last year, and then got a really outstanding job. But that was right before lockdown. And we've been very lucky because he's able to work from home. So I've got my 29-year-old son living with me. He's actually an award-winning playwright and comedian. And my daughter is an outstanding painter. She's sold a lot of her paintings over the years. So I have two very creative children, so I'm very blessed. And for the duration of the pandemic, I've got them living with me. So it's not all been bad. All right. Got heat on this. I want to put some oil in there. Just a little bit of oil for the bottom. Then I'm going to throw in my veg. And you see that's a nice hot pan. Going to grab a spatula. Can you do me a favor and pick up that piece of broccoli and throw it out before I trip over it? Now we're going to add the turkey. Grab my tongue. I want to bring this over so you can get a look at it. There we go. Can you see that? See those bright colors? You get that when you're stir frying something. And again, you don't have to go out and buy a big old stir fry pan. You can do it right here in a stock pot.
I'm going to follow you and get the beef stroganoff.
Yeah, here's our beef stroganoff going on over there. And to tell you the truth, I think my wife would probably be happy if I didn't have a stir fry pan, because she teases me about having too much gear. Although it was very nice, for Christmas she bought me a brand new crock pot. I've got some great crock pot recipes, we'll get those another time. But she bought me a new crock pot because my old crock pot was looking pretty sad. Handles broke off. So she went and got me a brand new one. She bought me, I had that on a timer. Alrighty, go ahead and pull her out. Here you go. We think our quiche is ready. You're right. Because I did not take into account that that's a convection oven. It's a little dark, but I'm sure it's going to taste good. So, we got our stir fry going here. We don't have to worry about cooking. You can just set that down on the middle table right there. You don't have to worry about that cooking because your turkey is already cooked. I'll borrow that towel if you don't mind. Thank you much. And then the next thing we're going to do, we've got that stir fry going. We're going to add the teriyaki sauce. Now remember to stir it, loosen up that honey. You want to get all that flavor in there. How are we looking on time? We have 5 minutes. I got bad news for our fish cake fans out there today. We're not going to have enough time to get to the fish cakes. That was my 4th item to use up as leftovers. We'll still post the recipe up on the website. It's pretty simple and straightforward. It was the easiest of our recipes. All you have to do is take some leftover mashed potatoes, some leftover cod, you mix them all together with some breadcrumbs, and I put in some Cajun seasoning and some Parmesan cheese, And then you just saute them right on top of the grill. You pan fry them. We're not going to get to that today. Sorry about that. I always like to do an ambitious schedule. Always to have a little bit more than you could get done than to run out of time and be standing there trying to fill the rest of the time. All right. So the last thing we need to do, this looks delicious. The last thing we need to do is we need to incorporate some sour cream into our stroganoff. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take a ladle. Give me that ladle-like one right there. Right near your hand. Closest to you. Closer. One more. There you go. And we're going to take some of the sauce out of the stroganoff. Gravy thickened up beautifully. We're good. Now, if we added the sour cream directly to that, it would definitely break. So what we're going to do is we took a little bit out of the pan, and we're going to add the sour cream to that. Let me check my quantities again. I need a half cup. Half cup of sour cream. And my last little spoon. And you mix all that together. And that's called tempering. T-E-M-P-E-R-I-N-G. Tempering. You're tempering the sour cream. Bringing it up to temperature slowly before you add it to the rest of the pot. And that way, it won't break. Break is when it falls apart and separates. Can you hand me a spatula out of my kitchen? Thank you so much. And then the last thing I'm going to ask for is my French spatula, which is right next to the fork. So I added our sour cream, and the reason I wanted the French spatula is the French spatula is a little sturdier and thinner, and it's good for getting down in there. I had some of this wonderful stroganoff kind of burn onto the bottom of the pan a little bit, but it's still got wonderful flavor, so I wanted to make sure to get underneath and get it all mixed up good. So we just mix all that together. And Vicki, I'm going to ask you to get 3 of those plates. How confident do you feel about cutting a nice portion of the quiche? Go ahead and plate up a piece of quiche. And then I'm going to plate up some stroganoff. And some stir fry. And we'll close showing you how we did. There's a little bit of the stroganoff. Here comes a little bit of the stir fry. It's a shame that you can't smell over the internet. They have yet to perfect smell-o-vision. But these smell wonderful, particularly that. Here you got your quiche. I left it in a little long, but if, oops, let me tilt it so you can see it. There you go. I left it in a little long, but you got some nice layers on the side, and it smells wonderful. And then beef stroganoff. Normally we would serve that over noodles if you would like. Your stir fry you could serve over rice, but they're also wonderful just the way they are. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Let me come and get back into frame. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. You saw some ideas presented very quickly on how you can take those holiday leftovers and utilize them and make another wonderful meal for yourself and your family. However many we've got sitting around the table with us right now. I look forward to the day when we could all get together around the table again. I think it's not going to be too long off. I hope everybody stays safe, and I just want to thank you for tuning in and supporting our programs here. Take care and God bless. Thank you, Vicki. And thank you to the Chester Senior Center for allowing us to use their kitchen. Thank you to Miss Anna for allowing us to use her kitchen. And if you really want some enthralling television, stay tuned and you can watch us clean up for the next 2 hours. That should be fascinating. Take care, everybody.
See you.
How did you on time?